This is a closer look. Gail McCabe talks with General David Petraeus about Army values and the surge in Afghanistan.
What happens when you get a bad apple, like what we have in the headlines these days? Someone who does not live up to our values.
Well, I can't comment on specific cases. You know how that goes. There's something called command influence that we always steer very clear of. But certainly throughout our history as a military, throughout the history of any military, there periodically are individuals who do not live the values that we have sought to protect and preserve for generations of the American military. And it's one reason that in the counterinsurgency guidance we say, live our values, and that we remind our troopers that, of course, generations of Americans have fought to preserve those for our population, and that we cannot allow the kinds of frustrations, the sometimes anger and so forth, that situations on the battlefield to lead us to expedient solutions. So we continually re-emphasize that. It is vitally important, indeed, that we not give the enemy issues that he can use against us. And that's how I would best characterize a response to that without getting into any specifics.
Sir, is the buildup of forces working? Is it accomplishing what you want?
This is part of the overall effort that we've embarked on over the course of the last year and a half to get the inputs right in Afghanistan, to ensure that we have the organizations that are necessary based on our experience in Iraq to carry out this kind of comprehensive civil military campaign, to build an operational level headquarters, a reintegration cell so that you don't have to kill or capture every bad guy. You want to reintegrate the reconcilables back into society. The NATO training mission, Afghanistan, the rule of law task force, and a host of other organizations that did not exist when we really looked intently and did the reviews that were part of the late 2008 and then throughout 2009 as President Obama's administration took office. Then, of course, we had to make sure we get the best leaders possible in charge of those organizations, get the concepts, the counterinsurgency guidance, the civil military campaign plans and so forth right, and above all then to have the resources deployed to enable us to carry out those plans with these organizations and leaders. And of course that means, that has meant now some 85,000 additional ISAF forces deployed over the course of that time. The U.S. component has tripled in terms of its civilian manpower out here, and funding for an additional 100,000 Afghan security forces has been provided as well. Now what that does is, again, is it means that we now broadly have the inputs right. We have the tools necessary to carry out the kind of campaign that we know is necessary here to accomplish our objectives. And of course we've been working to turn inputs into outputs as they have been arriving. You saw the campaign in Central Helmand Province, tough fight, difficult. The enemy fights back because these are sanctuaries and safe havens that mean a great deal to him and to the illegal narcotics industry, but nonetheless, security in that bubble is better for the people, and we see that manifest in a variety of different ways. Marja, for example, which was a command and control headquarters for the insurgency, was an illegal narcotics market in the past, now sells illicit goods in the market, has an interim police station. It'll have a high school open for the first time in 6 years. This year, 3 other schools and some 900 people or so voted there in the election.
That's a closer look.